All right, we're still 3-0 in our last three college basketball tier package picks on Pt.2. And if you want to access today's college basketball tier package pick, the link for that play is in the description section below. $1,000 bettors are up over $2,700 during that span. And as always, guys, all the picks that I give out on my website are my personal plays, games that I personally have action on. We have packages beginning at just $1.99. And with that, I just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to the video. My name is Brock Page, and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. And if you find yourself enjoying this video here today, please feel free to give it a thumbs up by smashing that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. I'd love to connect with you on a daily basis. With that, let's go ahead and get into our part 2 video here today for the NBA. The Pacers take on the Bucks, 8 o'clock Eastern start time on Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. Milwaukee's minus 12.5 with the total at 234. But before you go ahead and lay a bunch of points with the Bucks in this spot here, just keep in mind Giannis Antetokounmpo is currently questionable to play this evening with an ankle injury. The Bucks are also on a 2-game losing streak, and they're covering the number in only 37% of their home games. So we're looking at a team who doesn't do well covering the number, especially at home. A lot of times these guys are laying double digits in front of their home crowd, just like they are with this game. And those numbers just keep getting bigger and bigger. It's tough for these guys to cover that, especially when they're taking a lot of action for these games. But I'll tell you this much. There really isn't a whole lot to nitpick when it comes to Milwaukee. They are great. I'm strictly criticizing them with regard to the number. Although there are a few problem areas that may be reason for concern. The Bucks are, believe it or not, in the bottom 10 in shooting from the field at home. I find that kind of, interesting. That's an interesting stat there, especially with a guy like Giannis. Meanwhile, defensively on the other end of the court, these guys are actually amongst the worst in the Eastern Conference in defensive rebounding at home as well. So keep those factors in mind. I don't think Milwaukee laying a big number there is a lock for you. They're taking on a Pacer team who hasn't been all that great recently themselves, although, they've certainly had little issue scoring points here recently. Believe it or not, these guys averaged 115 points a game in their last 3 outings. And they've done a nice job of rebounding the basketball this year. Now, that includes, their new players. Indy's in the top 10 in defensive rebounding per contest. Meanwhile, on the other end, they're also in the top 10 in offensive boards as well. And, of course, speaking of offensive production, it's newcomer Tyrese Halliburton, who's averaging 22.5 points per contest in a couple of games with the Pacers. 4 boards, 11 assists thus far for the new guard. Meanwhile, Buddy Hield, he's averaging 14.5 points per contest with Indy himself. In the last couple of games, 8 boards, 4.5 assists for Buddy. Now, injury-wise, Jackson and Duarte are out. Brogdon is questionable. Meanwhile, for Milwaukee, once again, Giannis Antetokounmpo and George Hill, they are questionable for them. Lopez and Connaughton are still out. Now, total-wise, Milwaukee saw their last 5 straight all get over the line. The Bucks also went 80% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Indiana went 9-1 to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Indiana plus 12.5 in the over 234. Next matchup, it is going to be Grizzlies versus the Pelicans, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Memphis is minus 4.5. Total is 228 and a hook. We saw a half a point move toward the Grizzlies and the over in this one. Memphis opened 4, up to 4.5. Total opened 228, up to 228 and a hook. 83% of the action is currently on the Grizzlies. Having said that, though, Memphis, they have guys, a handful of guys on the injury report here this evening. And most importantly, Ja Morant, he's questionable with an ankle. And as hot as the Grizzlies have been here recently, I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh my God, he's about to fade the Grizzlies. These guys have been red hot. But as hot as they've been, they certainly don't play the Pelicans well. They just don't when it comes to head-to-head meetings. They actually lost 8 out of their last 10 contests against New Orleans. and they failed to cover the point spread 9 times during that span. Pelicans have had their number in recent meetings. Now, as good as Memphis has been offensively this year, they have had some issues shooting the basketball. I know that sounds crazy, but just keep in mind, they're currently in the bottom 3 in the NBA in shooting from the stripe, and they're also making just 33% of their three-pointers on the road. So these guys haven't been all that outstanding shooting the basketball in those two areas. Now, injury-wise, once again, Moran is questionable. Tillman and Ponce are out. Meanwhile, for the Pelicans, Larry Nance is still out indefinitely with a knee. When it comes to the total in this one, New Orleans went 80% to the under in their last 10 outings. Unders against the likes of Toronto, Miami, and Houston during that stretch. There were also 16 and 12 to the under at the Smoothie King Center. Meanwhile, the Grizzlies on the other side, they saw 8 out of their last 10 meetings with New Orleans get over the line as well. So if you're into historical trends, you certainly want to think about that one there. I'm going to lean toward New Orleans plus 4.5 and the over 228 and a hook. I'm going to lean toward New Orleans plus 4.5 and the under 228 and a hook. I don't know why I said over. It's an under. Pels 80% to the under in their last 10 outings. Under. Pelicans plus 4.5, under 228 and a hook. Sorry about that awkward silence, that awkward pause. Just want to make sure I got it right. I don't know why I said over there. I'm leaning toward the under. All right. Very nice. Next game. It is going to be... Where is it? There it is. Cavaliers, Hawks, 7:30 East. Cleveland's -1 with the total at 219.5. And speaking of the total in this one, Atlanta's gone 4-2 to the over in their last 6 outings. Overs against the likes of San Antonio, Indiana, and Toronto during that stretch. Now the Hawks have also gone 16-13 to the over in the State Farm Arena this season. Meanwhile, Cleveland on the other side of things, they saw overs recently with Indiana, Houston, and Detroit themselves. When it comes to picking a winner in this one, this game's actually being featured as my $1.99 daily best play on Pt.2. And the link for that pick is in the description section below. So if you want to see whether I'm betting on Cleveland laying the point on the road, or if I like Atlanta getting the job done in front of their home fans, there's only one way to find out, and that's to sign up for my $1.99 daily best play on Pt.2. We're currently hitting at 64% in our last 11 picks in that package. But as far as making a free pick goes for this ball game, I'm going to lean toward the over 219.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Clippers versus the Suns, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Phoenix is -13 with the total at 223.5. And real quick, when it comes to the line movement in this one, we have seen those lines moving around a little bit. We've seen movement towards the Suns and the over in this one. Phoenix opened 12.5 up to 13. Total opened 223 up to 223 and a hook. Now the Red Hot Suns are on a 5-game winning streak, and they also went 16-1 straight up in their last 17 as well. Phoenix is amongst the best scoring teams in the association. They actually find themselves in the top 3 in scoring on average per game. And they're making nearly 50% of their field goals at home. Devin Booker, he's averaging 25.5 points per contest, along with 5 boards and 4 assists. Meanwhile, DeAndre Ayton, he's grabbing double-digit rebounds per contest himself, along with 16 points a game. And speaking of boards, the Suns are actually in the top 10 in the league in both offensive and defensive rebounding at home. They're taking on a Clipper team who failed to cover in 5 out of their last 7. And they also find themselves in the second of a back-to-back here this evening. As good as Phoenix is at rebounding the basketball, the Clippers are quite the opposite. They're actually in the bottom 10 in offensive boards. They also find themselves in the bottom 3 in defensive rebounding on the road. Now, injury-wise, Powell and Preston are still out indefinitely. Kennard is questionable as well. Meanwhile, for Phoenix, Shamet is still out indefinitely with an ankle. When it comes to the total in this one, the Suns did see unders recently with Washington, San Antonio, and Utah. They're also 7-3 to the under in their last 10 meetings with the Clippers, so if you're into historical trends, plenty of unders to go around. And speaking of head-to-head meetings, the Clippers averaged just 103 points a game in their last 10 games against the Suns. I'm going to lean toward Phoenix minus 13 and the under 223.5. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Pt.2. If you guys do end up getting a membership here today, just keep in mind you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. The earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And if you want to get access to every single pick that I give out on that website, you're going to want to think about signing up for my board member package. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at Brockpage.com.